Hello and welcome back to the AA NBA podcast. I'm your host, Aiden Hammond.
And I'm Aditya.
And we're capping off a great week in the NBA. A lot of good storylines, a lot of shitty storylines, a lot of injuries. But let's start off with our week 2 power rankings. Aditya, you want to go first? You want me to go first?
You can take the lead on this one. We're going 5-1, right?
Yes. All right.
All right.
Number 5, I have the Brooklyn Nets. The Nets looked like shit this week. They went 1-3. They have losses to the Hawks. Their only win this week was an overtime win against the Hawks. They beat them by 4. They lost to the Hornets. They lost to the Grizzlies, and they lost to the Hawks. The Grizzlies and the Hawks were both at home as well. They got their asses. I mean, straight up, they got their asses kicked by the Hawks on New Year's Day. Wasn't even close.
Yeah.
114-96. And Kevin Durant played. Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving both played.
Yeah.
That's concerning. But it wasn't concerning enough for me to kick them out of the top 4. I mean, top 5.
You mean top 5? Yeah.
Yeah, because they still, when they're on, they look like the championship favorite, and you know they obviously have been exposed a little bit, which is good because it's always good when the favorite gets exposed because then you can kind of be like, oh well, they're not unbeatable completely anymore. Like they don't look unbeatable with Kyrie and KD like they did in the first week.
Right.
All right, what's your number 5?
My number 5 is the Hawks. I left the Nets out because of, well, we'll get to this later, but because of Spencer Dinwiddie's injury, he's out for the season. And also, when KD and Kyrie don't play, like, everyone's talking about how, this roster is really deep, and, even if KD and Kyrie maybe don't play as many minutes, they can still hold their own, and they show that they can't anymore. Maybe it's just a bad week, but through 2 weeks right now, I just have them at, 6,
Yeah. That's fair enough.
And the Hawks, they had the win against the Nets. They lost in overtime by 4 to some free throws. But the next game, they came back and won by 16. So they bounced back. The only other loss they had is to the Cavs, who have been looking surprisingly good this season. And they're 4-2. So they have a better technical record than the Nets. That being said, I don't think they're a better team, but through 2 weeks they've looked better. So
I mean, that's what these power rankings are all about, especially through the first couple weeks. They're teams that will probably miss the playoffs that have been in our power rankings.
Yeah. So I got the Hawks at 5.
All right. My number 4 is the Orlando Magic.
Wow.
Yeah. Are they higher or lower for you?
They're not even on my list.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right. The Orlando Magic, through 2 weeks, have looked pretty fucking good. I know that they lost to the Thunder last night, which is not a great loss. But
Oh, yeah, we are recording this on Sunday this week.
yeah. But they were 4-0 to start. Markelle Fultz looks really solid. Terrence Ross looks solid. Vooch looks good as always. So, they're looking better than I think we both thought they were. I still think they're probably going to miss the playoffs. But they look kind of nice, so that's why I got them at 4.
All right. My number 4 is the Philadelphia 76ers. I have them at 4 because their record is 5-1, so they've been winning their games. Embiid's looked really good. This team has looked a lot better when they're not forcing Al Horford to play because they paid him a max contract.
Yep.
Doc Rivers, you can say what you want about him, but the team has looked solid under his coaching.
Yeah.
And again, they're 5-1, but I have them at 4 instead of a little higher just because of their strength of competition. They lost. Their one loss was to the Cavs, but they beat the Wizards, Hornets, Magic, Raptors, and Knicks. Now, none of those teams are exceptionally amazing. I know you have the Magic at 4, but the Raptors have been bad, the Knicks have been mediocre, Hornets have been okay, and the Wizards have been bad. So their wins aren't anything super crazy, but they are 5-1, so it's hard to ignore that.
Yeah. Yep. My number 3 is the Philadelphia 76ers. Pretty much everything you said about Philly is true, and I agree with. I just have them one spot up because they've looked like really best case scenario. Like, they got shooters around Ben Simmons. He's looked great. They got Embiid, who's obviously always going to be a top 2 or 3 center as long as he's in his prime. Like, they got guys. They got shooters. They're beating who they need to beat, which is not something that can be said about Philadelphia the last 2 years. So that's good, because usually a couple games in here, like, they probably would have lost to the Raptors last year, probably would have dropped one to the Magic or the Wizards. So they're beating who they need to beat, which is an improvement. Just straight up it is.
Yeah. Is it my turn?
Yeah.
All right. My number 3 is the Clippers. So they were at 1 last week, and I felt like I couldn't just completely take them off the list because nothing major has happened. But we saw what happens when Kawhi Leonard doesn't play. They lost by 50 to the Mavs team that has not looked very good this season.
Yeah.
Which was embarrassing.
That's straight up like why they're not in my top 5.
Yeah. Like if well, they were number 1, so I didn't want to take them off completely. Like, the Nets, I would have kept them on the list if Dinwiddie didn't get hurt. But, like, that was embarrassing. That's just what it was. It was sad.
Yeah, pathetic.
Yeah. And, they're here because they have that week 1 win against the Lakers. That's, like, the main reason. Because they've shown they can be really good, at least when Kawhi plays. So I do have to respect them and keep them on the list, but if they keep playing like this, then they might not be soon.
Yeah, no, I agree. I straight up had to put them off just because they lost by 50. Like, that's just such a ridiculous loss. Like, I couldn't even, I couldn't justify keeping them in. Yeah. My number 2, I got the Atlanta Hawks at number 2. The Hawks are 4-2. They're here because they have a win against the Nets. They lost to the Cavs by 5. Again, you noted this earlier. The Cavs are looking surprisingly good this year. And then they lost to the Nets by 4. Those are their only 2 losses of the year. They've beaten the Bulls by 20. They've beaten the Grizzlies by 10. They've beaten the Pistons by 8. They've beaten the Nets. They beat the Nets by 18, which is really why they're on here. That was a fully up to par Nets team minus Spencer Dinwiddie. But, they had, not Dinwiddie. They had Durant, Irving, LeVert, Jared Allen, DeAndre Jordan all playing. And they looked good. They're getting everybody involved. When you have a team this young and, you got 6 guys in double figures, that's good. That's good. They're running like a 9-man rotation. Herter's getting minutes. Solomon Hill's getting minutes. They made Solomon Hill look kind of solid so far this season, which is not really something that can be said around about Solomon Hill since he was in Indiana in 2016. But he's looking good. Cam Reddish is looking good. Trae Young is honestly one of the front runners for MVP right now. If the season ended today, he would get a lot of votes, even though he does play defense. They look really good. So that's why I got them at 2.
Nice. My number 2 is the Lakers, because they haven't had a super impressive week or anything, but all that I can really say is Dennis Schroeder and Montrezl Harrell have been incorporated really well, and even their bench players are playing solid, which is better than a lot of teams right now. So they're coming off the short off season, and they haven't really lost their touch yet. So I keep them at 2.
Yeah. All right. My number 1 is the Phoenix Suns. Phoenix looks really fucking good. I had my doubts about Phoenix going into the year. Chris Paul's another year older. Devin Booker can't play winning basketball. And I still don't know about the playoffs. But what I do know is that they're going to make the playoffs, which is not grace that I gave them going into the year. They've all looked good. They've beaten the Nuggets, who should be good. They're not right now, but they should be. They've beaten the Jazz, who are good. They've beaten the Mavericks and Kings, who both are solid. They look good. They look good. That's all I can say, really. I mean, they look really good. They look like the class of the Western Conference right now, which obviously they're going to cool off eventually because, the Lakers and the Clippers and the Nuggets are going to be top 3 seeds, whatever order. But they look nice. They definitely are proving me wrong so far, which is good. It's a good thing.
Yeah, I also have the Suns at number 1. They've looked good. I mean, you covered most of everything. They have some good wins. They beat the Pelicans, who are also 4-2. They beat the Jazz, the Nuggets, the Mavs, and then they're 1-1 against the Kings right now. But they've looked really good. You can see Chris Paul's impact very clearly, and yeah. I mean,
that's a team. Wait, yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say they started off strong last season, and then they kind of sucked. But I think this season they're not gonna suck. So.
Yeah, well, I mean that was because Ayton pissed hot. Honestly, that's why they kind of fell off. He's very necessary to their success.
Yeah.
And yeah, Chris Paul is looking great. That was a team that I wanted to be wrong about, just because I like Chris Paul. I generally I really like Monty Williams. I like Devin Booker, but I just I couldn't go against what my brain was telling me. So I'm glad to be wrong about them because they look fucking awesome. By the way, the Pelicans are quietly 4-2. I didn't even consider them for this, but they're second in the West right now.
Yeah.
That
the only reason I didn't
is shocking.
The only reason I didn't have them here is just their wins aren't super impressive to me. The Sixers are 5-1 and they barely made it because their wins aren't very impressive. But the Pelicans have beaten the Raptors, who have looked awful,
like shit. Yeah,
they beat the Thunder, who were supposed to be bad. They lost to the Suns. They beat the Spurs by 3. Then they lost to the Heat and beat the Raptors again. So
it feels like every time. It also feels like every time I tune into a Pelicans game, they're getting their asses kicked. So yeah, I tried to watch a little bit of the Suns game the other day, drubbing. Tried to watch the Heat game on Christmas
25.
Day. That was an ass kicking. It's just they're losing to they're beating fine middle of the pack or bad teams, and they're losing to good teams. So,
yeah.
I mean, that's improvement because they were bad or middle of the pack last year. So, good for them. Pacers are honorable mention for me.
Yeah. I want to talk about some of the teams that, didn't have a good week,
Yeah, yeah.
So,
the Nets.
The Nets, yeah. The Nuggets are 1-4.
Yeah.
Not good. Then the Bucks fell out of my top 5. They were 4 last week, but I don't know. They're 3-3.
Yeah.
They blew out the Heat, absolutely destroyed the Heat, and then proceeded to lose
Without
to
Jimmy
them
Butler.
the very next day.
Yeah, by 20 points.
Yeah, so they won the game where they set the record for most threes made in a game, which they're not going to do every game anyway. And then they proceeded to lose the very next day to the exact same team. So it's kind of hard to keep them in the top 5.
Yeah, no, I agree. They have looked very touch and go this year, I would say. I think that's the best way I can put that. They look like a championship team on some nights, and then they look like shit on others.
Yeah.
But, so have the Nets. So
Right.
at least we know that the teams who are going to be top 2 in the East are beatable.
Right.
So,
And
yeah.
then the Rockets, John Wall's played finally, and he's looked pretty good.
Yeah.
Right.
Rockets look kind of nice. I think depending on who they get back for Harden, they could look okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
with the way
as of
John Wall and Christian would have been playing, they already look okay.
yeah. As of
But-
right now, they have played the least amount of games in the NBA. They've played 4 games. Nobody else has played 5, or nobody else has played 4. Everybody else has played at least 5.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, it's because they had one game canceled.
Well, yeah. So I mean, they lost to the Blazers by 2. The Blazers have looked good, and then they lost to the Nuggets by 13. But they've beaten the Kings twice.
Yeah.
But they could have beaten the Blazers. They could very well be 3-1 right now. So I'm not too concerned about the Rockets. Harden looks excellent, as always.
Which is expected, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. What do you want to do next?
Do you just want to get into the injury corner, or you want to get into some news?
Let's do injuries first. Get that out of the way, because injuries suck.
Yeah. Marquise Chris broke his leg.
Marquise
He's done for
Chris
the year.
broke his leg, so the Warriors lost a bench piece.
Yeah, that
to their
sucks because he's
already
been
bad bench.
solid for them this year. I know he's generally kind of considered a bust, but like he's kind of revived his career with Golden State, so it sucks to see, a guy like that get fucked. Like that just sucks.
What do you think source for his career, breaking his leg or almost being killed by Serge Ibaka?
Probably breaking his leg. That's never great.
You think so?
Yeah, I would say so.
All right, so that's that. Next up, T.J. Warren is out indefinitely. He's getting surgery on his foot.
That's ass. I mean, I don't expect him to be out for the year. Usually foot injuries, you can come back from them like kind of okay within the season. Like he probably will be out for, I would say, at least like 40 or 50 games, which is terrible. And the Pacers were in my top 5, and then they lost to the Knicks last night. So
yeah,
I couldn't really keep him in. But yeah, they look worse without him. He's like a solid, 20. Malcolm Brogdon said this in post game. He's a solid 20 or 25 points per game that they miss without him. He's the best. I think Brogdon said he was the best pure scorer on the team, which he absolutely is. So that is a really shitty injury for the Pacers. I don't see any good coming out of this. I still think the Pacers are going to make the playoffs, obviously, and they'll probably be fine. Sabonis had an uncharacteristically bad game last night, which he shouldn't have for the rest of the season.
For some reason, RJ only hits his shots against the Pacers.
Yeah, he's what was that stat? He was 7 of 8 for the year against the Pacers and 0 of 21 against everybody else.
Yeah, like from 3, yeah.
Yeah, he hadn't made a 3 since the first game of the season until last night. And he made like 4.
Which was against the Pacers.
Yeah.
And next up, we kind of talked about this already. Dinwiddie tore his ACL. He's out for the season.
This is, besides TJ Warren, this is the biggest loss out of any of those.
Yeah.
Just straight up. Dinwiddie, I would say he was the 3rd best player on that team. Pretty easily.
Yeah.
Like LeVert, you could maybe kind of make an argument for LeVert. Not really, because we already had an argument in the group chat about that this week. But
yeah. Dinwiddie's the better player.
Dinwiddie is the better player. He's better than DeAndre Jordan, obviously. He's better than Nick Claxton. He's super important to that team. He's an important scorer. His passing is underrated.
Why did you pick Nick Claxton of all players on that team? You didn't even say Joe Harris.
I didn't think of him, bro. I mean, Nick Claxton.
He hasn't done anything.
Are you trying to argue that Nick Claxton is better than Spencer Dinwiddie?
No, but why did you if you're trying to compare him to other productive players on that team, why would you say Nick Claxton?
Nick Claxton's impact is underrated.
He doesn't have an impact. He doesn't play.
Don't sleep. Okay, yeah, Nick Claxton doesn't play. Okay, let me pull up his stats, idiot. Nick Claxton
He's not on the active roster.
Nick Claxton, this season,
he's
not on the active roster.
No, he's not. He's not.
Last year, though, it doesn't even show his minutes. It just shows his per 36. What the fuck?
Yeah, because he didn't play. He has 0
Why
impact.
is his per 36 the first thing that comes up? Per 36, he averages 15 points, 8 rebounds. So that's really underrated.
There's probably like one game where he subbed in for like 30 seconds and got a point or something, or like to 2 points and a
in
rebound.
15 games last year, 12 minutes per game, he averaged 4 points. Okay, 4 points, 3 rebounds. That impact cannot be underrated.
There was no impact.
Yeah, there was impact on the fan base because he's a lovable baller.
You can't love someone that doesn't even play, and he's not even on their active roster.
All right. Besides the point, Spencer Dinwiddie is better than him. So
yeah, well, duh.
I don't know what you're trying to say here, guy.
You didn't even mention the only player on this roster that's even close to being even close to passing Spencer Dinwiddie, which is Timothy Luwawu-Cabarrot.
Yep.
He's like the only person that like maybe could be better than Spencer Dinwiddie, you know?
Yeah. I feel like this really, I mean, I think the Harden trade was all but out of bounds already, but I think this basically kills any chance that they get Harden because Spencer Dinwiddie was going to have to be a huge part of that, and the Rockets aren't going to be like, oh, this guy tore his ACL, we really want him now. So
I mean, they took John Wall.
They did, but John Wall was not rehabbing an injury. He had already done all the rehab and stuff. Like, Spencer Dinwiddie wouldn't even play for them until next year.
That's true, yeah. At least next year, if not longer.
Yeah, at least.
Do you think, at this point, you can go off on a little tangent about this, Harden expanded his list of teams, and he talked about this a little bit last week, but, none of the Sixers are the only team that can really offer a super compelling package, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think Portland can, but they would gut their team.
Yeah, which I don't think they would do.
Portland, Boston, and Philadelphia, I think, could put together the best trade packages because they can all include a player that is at least borderline all-star level.
I don't know if Portland or
Boston
Boston
wouldn't
are
have to
willing to make a trade. You know what I mean?
I think Boston would. Danny Ainge is always looking to make moves. I think if Boston was like Jaylen Brown, I don't know, one of their big men or wings like Jaylen Brown, and then just like a bunch of prospects and picks, I think that is one of the more attractive trades that could be made. Like if they were like, we'll give you like Peyton Pritchard, Romeo Langford, Cameron, Carson Edwards, Jaylen Brown, and like 3 first-round picks. If it was just like prospects, picks, and like a borderline all-star, I think that's the most attractive option. You know, I don't really see another team putting together a package like that because, like, you know, Romeo Langford was a fucking lottery pick. Like he's been
terrible,
bad.
though.
He is terrible, but like there still should be some talent in there. There's no reason that he should be this bad. Still.
But the reason he is this bad is because he does not have the talent to play in the NBA.
I don't think so. Like I still think that he can be he's 21. Like there's no reason
he can be okay, but right now he has not even shown flashes that he can be okay.
And I definitely see a team like the Rockets trading for a prospect and maybe being like, okay, well, he obviously hasn't been good, but he's still a lottery pick. We'll get him. We'll get Carson Edwards. We'll get Jaylen Brown, who's obviously the best player in that package. Maybe they want, why can't I remember his name? The guy who shot like 50% from 3 last year in college.
Nesmith?
Yeah, Aaron Nesmith. Maybe they're like, we'll just take these prospects, Jaylen Brown, and like a pick or two. And I think that's more attractive. First of all, I think that's attractive for the Celtics because they don't lose any huge pieces aside from Jaylen Brown.
And Peyton Pritchard, dude. He's actually been getting minutes on that team.
No, he has. He has been. And that's really more of an indictment on Romeo Langford than anything because he's just been bad. But, you know, I think that that's the most attractive thing. Plus, it doesn't completely gut the other team. Which I don't think Portland's looking to gut their team right now. They look good. I don't think that Philadelphia is looking to gut their team. They look good. Boston's been iffy this year. So I think Danny Ainge might just be like, he's kind of an overreactor, honestly. He might just blow it up.
I don't think Philadelphia would even need to gut their team because if you Ben Simmons,
They'd need
plus,
to
like,
trade Ben Simmons.
that's not gutting their team though.
Dude, that is gutting their team. He's arguably their best player right now.
When you
Like,
get
that is-
like gutting your team, like they're not getting if they trade Ben Simmons and a few picks, they don't have to get rid of like their entire bench or anything.
Yeah, I guess.
And you're
I guess
getting
it
a player
depends
like
on what
James
your
Harden
idea
in
of
return.
gutting
So
your
it's not
team
even like
is.
they're getting worse.
No, it's not. I guess it depends on what. Like, I guess you could say like if they were like trading multiple starters, that's one thing. Like, but I mean,
Like I could honestly see like
Ben
Ben
Simmons
Simmons,
is
Seth Curry,
so
and 2 or
fucking
3
important
first
to
round
that
picks
team.
could get
Yeah.
James Harden.
yeah,
You know.
yeah, that's that's a good point.
Although I don't know if
Um,
the Sixers are like they're 5-1 right now, so I don't even know if they'd want to trade.
Yeah,
for James
exactly.
Harden.
Like, I don't know if they want to trade arguably their best player for a player who's definitely better, but is he going to make that team significantly better? Like,
Right.
they got the shooters for Ben Simmons. It seems like they want to build around Simmons. I know that we were kind of joking about that. Like, yeah, they're going to say that until they trade him, but it seems like they kind of want to do that.
Yeah.
Like, it seems like he really is an integral part of their future. So, you know.
And in shocking news, when they don't have Tobias Harris at the 3 and Al Horford at the 4, and they just have a bunch of shooters, Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid can somewhat coexist, at least when they
Yeah.
spread out their minutes.
Yeah, I mean, we both said this. We were both saying like, if they don't blow it up this offseason, they're gonna blow it up next year. If they don't blow it up, this is gonna be the last year for them to try to gel somewhat. And if they don't do it, they're getting blown up. If they do it, and you know they still have to make a big playoff run for them to not blow it up. If they get bounced in the first or second round again, it's over.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if they lose to the Bucks or Nets and that team goes on to win the championship. That team is getting blown up no matter what. I don't care if they lose to the Bucks or Nets in 7. If I'm Daryl Morey, I'm blowing it up if they lose in the second round again. They have not proven that they can be a contender.
Well, didn't Daryl Morey say he wanted to give them like another season after this one?
Maybe. I
'Cause he's
mean,
a
he
new
might have,
so
but Daryl
if
Morey
he-
says shit all the time. Like, he
Yeah.
just, like, I don't trust a word Daryl Morey says, and that's good because he's a good president of basketball operations. You don't want to be predictable if you're a guy like that with that sort of power.
That's fair. All right.
What are the other injuries? We went through Warren, Dinwiddie.
Karl Anthony Towns is out
yes.
for a few weeks.
Yeah, that team looks significantly worse without him,
Bro, he can't
which is
catch
to
a
be
break,
expected
man.
because he's their best player. Yeah, I know, that sucks. But, like, they went from, I think they were, like, top 5. Now they're back to 10th. Like, they're only, okay, they beat the Pistons. They beat the Jazz, which the Jazz is a good win. And then he got hurt in the Lakers game. They got their asses kicked. They got their asses kicked by the Clippers, and they got their asses kicked by the Wizards.
Yeah.
So,
The
you can
Wizards,
see
who
the
have
impact
not
that
kicked
Cat
anyone
brings.
else's ass.
yes, the Wizards' first win of the season was an ass kicking.
Their
of the
only
Timberwolves.
win of the season.
Yeah, their first and only win of the season. They had lost 5 straight. They beat the shit out of the Timberwolves, and like Malik Beasley was the best player on the floor for the Timberwolves.
Yeah.
Malik Beasley was the best player, and Anthony Edwards and Naz Reid were the 2 second best. D'Lo played
has
like
not
ass.
looked like Nets D'Lo.
He didn't look like Nets D'Lo last year.
Yeah, but that team was also like
Yeah, they were
essentially
terrible.
tanking.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. But I mean, fucking hell, dude. Karl Anthony Towns has to play for that team to have any shot at making the playoffs. Anthony Edwards looks good, though. I would say, and I've kind of brought this up before the podcast, but I was like, if we're updating Rookie of the Year rankings, he's jumped a lot.
Yeah.
I still think that somebody picked outside of the top 3 will win it. My money is on Halliburton now because Okoro and Toppin have both been hurt. But Halliburton looks really good. Halliburton looks good. Anthony Edwards looks good. James Wiseman looks good. This is looking to be a good rookie class, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that they should just move the draft to like 2 weeks before the season starts every year now?
No.
Like, give guys enough time to like buy an apartment and learn their teammates' names and then they just start the year because a lot of rookies have looked pretty good this year. Like even like Denny, I know he's been turning the ball over a lot, but even Denny looks kind of solid.
Those players would look a lot better if they had time to prep with their teams, though.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, so those are the rookies I think that look good. Halliburton is fucking awesome. I love Tyrese Halliburton. He's playing for the Kings, one of my favorite teams, so nice.
Yeah.
What we got next?
And the only other injury we have left to cover is Ja Morant hurt his ankle.
Yeah, he's going to be out 3 to 5 weeks. I kind of just say this now, like whenever a player gets a lower leg injury, but it looked like he tore his Achilles.
You say that
he tore
every
his Achilles. Yeah, I do. It's just especially with Clay, like whenever a player gets a mysterious lower leg injury, I'm just like, oh well, it's an Achilles. Like it has to be an Achilles. There's no way it's not, and it almost never is outside of Clay.
Yeah, but Ja Morant has to work on landing because it is actually like scary.
Yeah, we're children of Derrick Rose. We don't want to see that happen again.
Yeah, like last season, he had that injury where he like fell and his leg folded in, and he got up fine, but like you can only take so much. Your body isn't flexible like that, and you got to be careful with it because these next few seasons he might be fine, but eventually something's gonna tear or snap or crack or something.
Yeah, that shit's not gonna fly when you're 26, even 25, even maybe like 24. Like
yeah, I mean,
how
if
old
he
was Derrick
does it
Rose when he
enough.
tore his ACL the first time, like 22.
Yeah, and the thing is, if you do it enough, it doesn't matter how old you are. If you've done that enough times, it's something's gonna happen.
Yeah,
because your body's not meant to do that.
We were talking about this on the podcast last year that he's got to just figure out how to land.
Yeah. And he hasn't yet, which is a problem.
If he does that, if and when he does that, because I mean, if he doesn't,
his career is going to be over in a few years.
Yeah. Well, that's a little bit of an extreme, but he's going to lose the explosiveness that he's known for. He's not going to be like, I mean, I'm expecting him to be a pretty consistent all-star. He's not going to be able to be that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's scary seeing him land like that. I hope he can figure it out because
the Grizzlies need to bring in someone, like not even as like a player, but like if they could get Vince Carter as like a coach or just to come in and teach Ja how to land. He needs
or Derrick Rose.
Well, Derrick Rose is on the team right now, but yeah, if they can trade for him, but I think the Pistons are going to keep him though because he's kind of mentoring Killian Hayes right now.
Yeah.
But, like, just bring in anybody that has been known to be a high jumper and just teach him how to land on his feet because the Grizzlies haven't done that yet, and now there's actual consequences to it because he's getting hurt.
Yeah. So, yeah, hope Ja gets better. He'll be fine. He'll be fine. It's like a high ankle sprain, I think. Like
this injury is not that major. It'll be out for like a few weeks,
but he could have broken his ankle.
Yeah, he could. I mean, he could have done something a lot worse.
Yeah.
And if he was anybody else, it probably would have been a lot worse. He just has a lot of durability right now.
Which I know that there's like anytime you jump, there's a certain degree of risk that you're going to come down on. Like Michael Jordan broke his foot in like his second year.
Yeah. Like doing anything, playing basketball in itself is an injury risk, but you don't want to do anything to make it even higher.
Exactly.
Of an injury risk.
Yeah. Like Ja Morant jumped like 10 feet in the air to block a shot. He doesn't need to do that. Like he just doesn't. Risk management
and like
is the word of the day for Ja Morant.
Try and block the shot, play defense, sure, but make sure you're landing on your feet in a way that doesn't endanger your body.
Yeah.
Every time you jump.
Yeah. Just Ja Morant, we love you so much. Please learn how to land.
I do like Ja Morant. He's so fun to watch.
Yeah.
So, like, don't kill yourself or your body over not being able to land, man. All right.
Yeah.
Next up, Marvin Bagley II?
Third.
No.
Trace.
Well, his dad would be the second, right?
Oh. Yes. Yeah. I mean, he goes by Coach Bagley. I don't think he goes by Marvin Bagley.
All right, well, that's a
Jr..
dumb name. I'm calling him Marvin Bagley II. He told the Kings to trade his son,
Yeah, what the fuck?
which is so dumb.
First of all, I want to say right now, I want to get this out in the air. I really like Marvin Bagley. I think Marvin Bagley is fun when he plays. I know he's hurt all the time, and, obviously Luka would have been a better pick. But I love Marvin Bagley. He's good when he plays. I still think that he can be a really good NBA player if he can just stay healthy. And I want him to figure out how to do that so bad, because when he plays, he's pretty fun to watch. I know that people don't watch Sacramento a lot. He's pretty fun when he plays. But when you are an unproven player who has been injured for a majority of his career, I don't think he's ever played more than like 30 games in a year.
He's been injured for more than half. I'd say probably more than 2/3 of his NBA career.
Yeah, he's like Joel Embiid, which is why I still think he can be good, because Joel Embiid proved that you can be hurt a lot in your first couple years and still be really good. That's why I'm holding out hope for Marvin Bagley. Okay, he played 62 games his rookie year. He played 13 games last year. He's played a total of 75 of like 150 games because last year got cut short. So,
right. So about half.
Like about half, maybe a little under that. But he's played 6 games total this year. They've played 6 games. He started all 6 games. He's averaging 25 minutes a game, which is pretty consistent with what he was averaging the last 2 years. He's averaged 25.3 and 25.7, so he's averaging 12 points, 8 rebounds. He's a monster. Like, he is really fucking good when he can play.
Yeah, but he just has to be able to play.
He has to be able to play, and his fucking dad can't demand trades. Like, you got to talk to your dad about this, dude. Like, I was saying this when Lonzo Ball was a rookie. You got to talk to your dad, because your dad can't talk shit for you. And I know that Marvin Bagley doesn't even think that. Like, I know that Marvin Bagley's not like, yeah, they should trade me. I'm awesome. I know that he knows this. I know that he's like, I got to prove myself.
If he does think they have to trade him because he's awesome, then he has to have gotten like a brain injury at some point.
Yeah, exactly. Like, his value right now is low because he's been hurt so much.
Yeah. And it's like it's a pretty common thing. We've talked about it on the podcast before. It's like you want a mediocre player that can play 50 to 60 games, not a good player that can play 20,
Yeah, exactly.
That's the reason injury-prone
that was
players
our
don't
main argument
have high
for
value.
why Spencer Dinwiddie is better than Karis LeVert, is because Karis LeVert's never played more than like 60 games in a season.
Right.
But yeah, Marvin Bagley, tell your dad to shut the fuck up. Like, I am a pro Marvin Bagley person. I'm a pro Kings person. I generally like Kings players and the Kings in general. But fucking goddamn it, Marvin Bagley Sr., Marvin Bagley II, or even Marvin Bagley Jr., Coach Bagley, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, Mr. Bagley II, if you're watching this, just,
please, you're only
off a
hurting
little
your
bit.
son's career when you say shit like that.
Yeah, maybe just lay off the internet a little bit.
Yeah.
Because, quite frankly, you don't know what you're talking about.
But also, if the Pacers would like to trade for Marvin Bagley, I mean, his value is super low right now. Yeah.
So,
but again, Marvin Bagley, we're rooting for you. But also, Marvin Bagley's dad.
I don't hate
shut the
Marvin
fuck up.
Bagley. He just needs to play
No,
games.
I don't either. I want Marvin Bagley to succeed a lot. Like, I want him to succeed because I want the Kings to be good.
Bro, I have a Kings hoodie. I can never wear it with pride because they're bad.
I don't want Marvin Bagley to just be known as the guy who was taken before Luka.
Which, here's the problem with that is even if he turns out to be an all-star, that's still going to happen because Luka's going to be an MVP.
Same with DeAndre Ayton.
Point.
Like, DeAndre Ayton is on a very good... Like, he might make the all-star team this year. He is on a very good track to be a pretty consistent, 20 and 10 guy. He's still going to be known as the guy who was picked before Luka Doncic. Just like Hakeem Olajuwon, to a certain extent, is known as the guy who was picked before Michael Jordan. When a really good player
talent
is picked, even Hakeem, who I personally think is like top 2 or 3 centers of all time,
I think
he was
got
still
him at
picked
number
before
1.
Michael Jordan. I did, or I still kind of do. It's such a hard one though because Kareem is still like so. He won a lot. I just think Hakeem was super important. I really fucking like Hakeem.
Understandably so.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, when I was young, I had a book, and it was about how like he grew up in Africa and like his whole story to the NBA, and it was pretty cool.
But yeah,
also
like
had a
Hakeem
book-
Olajuwon.
I also had a book
yeah.
about Charles Barkley and how he one time threw a man out of a window.
Nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Hakeem is awesome. He's still to a certain extent known as a guy who was picked for MJ. So, you know.
Which
But
it's gonna
Marvin
happen.
Bagley-
But like,
Yeah.
if you can have a productive, like highly productive NBA career, a little less so. If you fall out of the league because you can't stay healthy or are below average, then not as much. But
Yeah. All right, what do
that's all the stuff
What do
I
we-
had written down. I don't know if you have more, but
I don't. I think that I think we were just going to talk about like some of the games, maybe.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. I wanted to say this. The Warriors, I overreacted about the Warriors. They are not going to be I still don't know if they're going to make the playoffs. I'm still kind of out on them, but they looked better this week. Kelly Oubre didn't look like hot shit. Like, they beat the Pistons and they beat the Bulls.
So not very impressive competition.
Not great teams,
there.
but I thought that they were going to be like legitimately one of the worst teams in the league. So after last week, I thought they were going to be one of the worst teams in the league. Still kind of doubting whether or not they can make the playoffs, but
And here's the thing, being one of the worst teams in the league, like, more than half the NBA makes the playoffs, so being one of the worst teams in the league is still, like, just kind of missing the playoffs, maybe like the 10 or 11 seed.
I thought they were going to be like a bottom 3 to 5 team, and I don't think that anymore.
Yeah. I missed out on Wiseman in fantasy in the free agency, which kind of sucked, but
Yeah. Yeah, that sucked. Yeah.
But yeah, another thing, the Pacers have looked good with new Nate. So
Yes.
they did lose to the Knicks, which for some reason RJ Barrett is just the Pacers' kryptonite. But like,
Yeah, the
other
Pacers
than that-
are his bitch.
other than that, they have looked good.
Yeah, they look good. Sabonis looks like awesome.
Yeah,
He's proving. I don't know why the narrative. I mean, it was because nobody watches the Pacers. That's why. But the narrative last year was that he didn't deserve to make the All-Star team. Which I guess like if you look at like Bradley Beal not making it, that kind of makes sense. But like
but he's a forward. Bradley
he
Beal's a guard.
was a forward. Yeah, he made it as a forward or a center. I think. Like
Yeah, so
yeah. But
the Steelers are really bad to lose out in this season. The Browns are up 10-3 on them.
oh yeah, no. Well, they're about to lose. They're about to go 1-4 in their last 5 because they
Yeah.
beat the Colts last week. Stupid Colts.
Oh, they did. Damn it.
Yeah.
Stupid Phil. Throw more touchdowns.
Yeah. But Buffalo's going to beat Miami. Sorry about the football hour. Buffalo's up 21-3 on Miami. I need Miami. I needed one of Miami, Cleveland, Baltimore, or
The
Tennessee
Giants
to
are about
lose.
to make the Giants are beating the Cowboys 13-3
Well,
right
the Giants need to win and they need Washington to lose. So,
now. Washington, who do they play?
Washington's 6-9. Washington.
Oh, they play the Eagles? Oh, so they're winning. Because actually,
I don't know. Jalen Hurts.
I don't know. Yeah, no. I was going to say they're winning, but like Carson Wentz sucks and he's not playing anymore, so they actually have a chance to
Yeah.
win now. Bro, Carson
Yeah.
Wentz is a bitch.
I don't know why you think he's such a bitch.
Because he was.
You had a little rant in the pod.
It was not a rant. I hate Carson Wentz. But yeah, all
Why?
right, that was a little tangent. Because he whined about being benched, even though he was like the worst starting quarterback in the league. Play better, and you won't get benched for a rookie, Carson. And then he wasn't even like trying to help. He was like kind of shitty to the rookie. And he's just not like, if you play better, you won't get benched. It's not a hard concept. But you sucked and you got benched. Suck it up and be better. Instead of whining about it and requesting a trade.
Facts.
That's why I don't
All
like
right, yeah.
Carson Wentz.
Yeah, fair enough.
And Carson Wentz, if you're listening to this, come on the podcast. And
Yeah, let's talk this out.
Yeah. And there you go.
Yeah. All right. Do we have anything else? I don't think we have anything else.
I don't think we do. We ended it off with some NFL talk for like a minute. But yeah, I'm honestly, dude, let us know in the comments if you want us to talk more about football in these. Because, like, we could do both. You know?
Yeah.
Because right now, you know, football season is kind of it's going into the playoffs. It's getting crazy.
Yeah.
Well, it'll be another week before the playoffs, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But this will still be a basketball podcast. So
Yeah, obviously.
but yeah, check out our channels. Our individual channels will be in the description. I've actually started working on the Rainbow Six Siege video again, so it might be out within the next week or two. And then we got the podcast Twitter, the podcast email, and Aiden's football article.
Yes.
Will all be in the description. So check all that stuff out if you want. Comment below. Tell us why we're wrong and why you're smarter than us.
Yes. That's what we want.
Yes, that is what we want. And yeah, I think that's all we got. So we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.